Exciting. I love going live.
I do too, and because we do it raw and dirty.
Exactly.
That's
Gotcha.
what. That's what. No, because we don't
No,
rehearse. We don't
that's
rehearse. Clearly, Chad and I have no communication in advance.
yeah.
Yes. No.
No, we don't know what we're doing.
We
Right,
email each
Chad?
other like 1,000 times a week.
No, but that's different.
Oh. Oh, you mean as far as
it's
content?
not about this. It's
That's
never
true.
about this. Chad and I never talk in advance.
So right now everyone's watching us and listening to us on how we make the sausage.
Oh, wait, we're on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I'm zooming in on you right now.
Hi.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, we're on. We're serious.
yeah,
now?
we're serious live. Facebook Live,
Oh,
Tara
okay.
Marie Live, and that's Karol Ward. And
Okay, okay.
I became the announcer. I don't know why.
Okay, so hi everybody. It's Chad. Is my mic cool? Everything's
Yeah,
cool?
everything's
Okay.
great, yeah.
So hi everybody. It's Tara Marie. I'm coming to you from the Hangar Studios in New York City. That beautiful voice you hear out there. That's Chad. Chad, you want to say hi? Chad?
Hello.
Okay, so Chad is always our sound. He's the sound engineer. By the way, a little quick plug. Chad also owns Hangar Studios. So yeah,
We love this
Yeah,
place.
Chad owns Hangar Studios. We love Hangar Studios. We're coming to you live from Hangar Studios right here in Midtown Manhattan. And if you have no idea who I am, hi. I'm Tara. This is my podcast. About once a month, we simulcast my podcast on Facebook Live. People get a kick out of it. If you don't get a kick, watch it anyway because you'll like it. This is Karol Ward. Karol Ward is a confidence expert. She's also a licensed psychotherapist and a motivational speaker. And I've worked with Karol since 2008, I think, doing radio. Because I got my start in radio. I've worked with Karol since 2008. So we do this,
We've done this, right?
And you'll remember if you've been listening to my show the whole time, Karol was my first guest as a podcast. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. She was my first guest. I just want to give you guys a little preview. We're talking about something today that I think is really important. If you've got kids, this is so important. I don't have kids, but I've got nieces and nephews. Chad has children. Chad,
Yep, 2 boys, 13 and 7.
13 and 7.
Yep.
So that's eighth grade, eighth grade and second grade.
Going into 8th, going into 3rd.
Oh.
My 7-year-old is a young 7. His birthday's very late in the year.
Got it. Okay, so going into 3rd and going into 8th. So these are critical times. We're talking about bullying.
Yeah,
And
this is a real topic in my house.
this is no joke. Seriously, we like to have a good time on this show, but this is not a joking matter. There's a lot of stuff going on that's very disturbing to me as an aunt with little ones, And so Karol Ward, she's a psychotherapist, and I always enjoy, Karol, your I just like your take on things. I just like your take on things, and you've dealt with this with children and adults. So this is what we're doing, and basically you're going to watch us do the podcast. So Chad, when should we?
Yeah, I guess we can start the podcast whenever you want. All right.
Okay, sped thing. Let me see.
Yeah.
Banish bullying.
Yeah, do what you got, yeah.
Stats. Okay.
This is going to be a great podcast.
Yeah, and we don't rehearse. Tara Marie Live's kind of a low budget show. Right, Karol? We're kind of low budget.
That's a nice
Yeah.
way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Low budget.
We don't.
I prefer real.
Right. We don't rehearse, and it's Chad and I like it that way. Chad and I like to do things raw and dirty, right, Chad? On the podcast.
Yes, only on the podcast.
Only on the podcast. That's the only thing Chad and I are doing on camera. Okay.
Only thing
Okay.
that you're lucky enough to watch.
Okay. Okay. On Facebook Live. Okay. So Chad, should we do a 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. You want me to reset the clock for that?
Yeah. Would you?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, have a great show, ladies.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Just 3, 2, 1. Call it down, Chad.
That would be great.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to Tara Marie Live. As always, I thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'm your host, Tara Marie Segundo. I'm a fitness expert, a personal trainer, and a motivational strategist. Of course, I'm coming to you from the Hangar Studios once again in my beautiful New York City. It's a gorgeous day here. I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying your day. My podcast, Tara Marie Live, is about mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual health. And I intend to bring you information that you can apply to your life right away that will help you be more happy, healthy, and more physically and mentally fit. We have a good time on this show. We always do. We laugh, and I like to laugh. I like to have a good time. But sometimes we do have to talk about subjects that are really serious and often, frankly, very sad. And today, unfortunately, is one of those times. I should say fortunately, because we have to talk about the hard subjects or nothing will ever change. Nothing. So today we're talking about something that I think is on everybody's mind, whether or not you have children, because it's happening to people of all ages and all populations, and that's bullying. Now, this subject is very disturbing to me on many, many levels. My guest was lovely enough to give me some stats that I just wanted to just throw out at the top. These are statistics from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. This is 2015, so this was just recent, two years ago recently. A 2015 nationwide survey of high school students, 20% of them, which is 1 in 5 of the kids, reported being bullied on school property. So 1 in 5 children in high school is getting bullied on school property. Also in 2015, an estimated 16% of high school students reported they were bullied electronically, meaning on social media, on phones and such. So again, that's about 1 in 4. That's still a very disturbing statistic. 19% of Americans are bullied. This is, of course, a podcast is worldwide, but just in the United States, about 1 out of 5 people is bullied. And another 19% witness it. So people are bullied and people are watching the bullying. 61% of Americans are aware of abusive conduct in the workplace. So this is happening with adults. And 60 million Americans are affected by it. That's a lot. I'd say that's probably about 25% of the population. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people. Now, this is happening to kids starting at a very young age, and obviously it's persisting through adulthood. What disturbs me the most is that, and I'm not telling you news, this isn't something you don't know, little children are committing suicide because of this, because they don't have the emotional tools to cope, and things are really only getting worse. In my estimation, as I see, things are just ratcheting up. Now, I'm 52, which means I haven't been in high school. I got out of high school in 1983. I was actually in high school from 79 to 83. When I was a little kid, bullying meant that the other kids were picking on you at school or in the playground if you're even littler. Now with the internet, though, and social media, people are bullying each other almost for sport. And things, in my opinion, have gotten out of control. So something's got to give. The culture of meanness is out of control, and I would rather be a part of the solution than part of the problem. And the only way I can think of being part of the solution is to just bring it up. It's not comfortable to talk about. I don't think this is going to be a fun show. Some of my shows are a lot of fun, but I think this is going to be probably one of the most important ones I've done so far. So I want you to join me in welcoming my guest, Karol Ward. Karol is a confidence expert and coach. She's a licensed psychotherapist and a motivational speaker. She's also my personal friend. I've known her for so many years, I don't even remember. Mm-hmm. The focus of Karol's coaching work is helping people cultivate inner confidence and overcome their fear of sharing their talents and their abilities with others. She's also a TEDx speaker whose popular talk focused on the power of the body-mind connection. She brings this focus to both of her books. She's an author too. One of her books is called Worried Sick, and the other's called Find Your Inner Voice. And they're both fantastic books that weave everything she teaches in all of her coaching. It weaves them into books. They're fantastic books. So Karol, you're here today to talk about bullying. Again, if you've been listening to the podcast, you were my first guest on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We talked about cultivating confidence, mm-hmm. which actually this is occurring to me. Cultivating confidence would be part of not being a target for bullying.
I was just thinking that when you were reading it.
It just occurred to me.
Yeah, to be more confident.
On a little delayed reaction. Yeah, because I think that bullies very carefully choose their targets.
Yes.
And I should just say from the top, when I was a kid, I've not been bullied. Were you bullied in school?
I wasn't bullied in school.
Yeah, were you?
I mean,
Chad?
I was teased. Yeah. Teased in school. Teasing is different.
Very different thing, though.
Yeah.
Chad,
yeah. I wasn't, but my best friend was mercilessly teased and bullied, like to the point where it affected his education. In a reverse way, like he excelled and became the valedictorian of our high school and everything. So, but it really impacted and I saw him really crumble and only just focus on one thing that made him give him any satisfaction, which was schoolwork. But it devastated him.
Why were they bullying him, though? What about him?
Because he was always smart, and I just think his smartness coupled by other, teenage boys' insecurities, and it just led to some really bad times for him. It was really, really rough.
How is he now, though, as a grown-up?
Great guy. Great family guy, everything.
Okay, because what I've noticed is a lot of...
but he'll never talk about it.
Well, I don't blame him.
No,
I
I
mean,
don't
you know,
either.
but a lot of high-profile celebrities have said that they were bullied when they were in other words, I'm not saying I wouldn't wish bullying on anybody. My gosh, I wouldn't wish bullying on anybody. But in a way, a lot of people, like it sounds like Chad's friends, they almost take a yeah, watch me, yeah, watch me excel, because
Well, they
just
get out of the bullying situation and have the opportunity
hmm
to fly. And it's interesting that Chad said that because his friends stood out because he was smart. That's why bullies sometimes go after other kids. They
yeah,
stand out or they're different. They're a theater person or there's a
yeah.
gender issue that someone doesn't accept. So it's people that stand out for good reason.
Right. And what I want to say at the top, and this is very important because I hope children are watching this. I hope children and teenagers also, because it occurred to me as I was writing for the show today. I get that kids that stand out for any reason are usually the targets of bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And but what's interesting is when you're young, fitting in is important. When you're a grown up, not fitting in is what leads to success. I
Mm-hmm.
go out of my way to not fit in. Do you
Yeah,
understand? Like
I do.
I don't fit in. I don't fit in. I really don't, and I don't want to fit in. So it's
Mm-hmm.
totally cool with me.
Yeah.
And if I did fit in, I would be a worker bee in some company where I was known by my social security number, and that I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to fit in. I have
Mm-hmm.
no desire to fit in.
Right.
And so I want to give kids hope. If you're being targeted because you don't fit in, the very thing for which you're being bullied right now will be the thing that leads to your success when you're a grown up. And it's better to separate from the pack because
Mm-hmm.
the first rule of success, when I'm talking to people about success, is separate from the pack.
Yeah, be an individual, to have unique qualities that
Yeah.
other people
Yeah.
notice. And I always love that phrase. It came out, I don't know, maybe 8, 10 years ago. It gets better. It
Oh,
gets
God.
better
Yeah.
after you get out of those situations, but it's how you tolerate
Yeah.
being in those situations. It's how you can handle being in those situations that I think is really important to talk about.
Yeah, because it's like Chad said, the poor guy was tortured when he was young. He's fine now,
Right.
but that doesn't delete what he had to go through.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just get on with it. So again, I'm glad that people are joining me for this show because I do feel like it's so important, and I hope that this helps somebody. I hope somebody is helped by this, whether you're a child or an adult, or whether you're an adult with a child who's being bullied. So basically, Carol, define bullying. I mean, like we need a definition, but define. I mean, because like you said, you were teased. I mean, when I say I wasn't bullied, I really don't. I wasn't bullied, but I was teased. Doesn't every kid get teased
A
about?
lot of kids, yeah, teasing can, that's a way, that's a developmental stage for kids. There's certain stages and kids tease, but I define bullying
Okay.
as the physical, psychological, emotional, and electronic
Physical, okay.
abuse
Okay.
of another person with the
Intent to hurt.
intent to invade their space, hurt them, intimidate them, and control them.
Isn't teasing the tip of the iceberg of bullying? Like, doesn't it? In other words, you and I were teased. Couldn't that have easily spun into bullying?
Yeah, it could have if it had been gone on, it had been relentless. But being teased in the schoolyard, being teased at school, kids work out aggression. Again, you have to watch when that crosses the line. And I think that when you tease someone to the point where they have an emotional breakdown, we're moving into bullying.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're the reason that you want to tease someone is to really intimidate them, to really control them, and to really hurt them, as opposed to I'm mad at them, I'm going to tease them, I'm just going to act out a little bit. That's very, very different.
Or like when like a kid has like teasing about his name.
Yeah, you make fun of their name, it's back and forth.
Yeah.
But when you relentlessly pursue that kid through the hallways of school, making fun of them and their name every single day.
Ostracizing the
Yes,
child, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible because, like I said, the statistics, 20% of probably this is 2015, so I bet it's bigger. 20% of students reported being bullied at school.
Yeah.
So I'm quite certain it's in 2 years it's gotten worse, and 16%, which I assume has gotten worse, report that they were bullied electronically. I would only assume that's gotten worse because this is what, here's the thing. Chad, I'm sure you've seen this because again, Chad's got a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old. My nieces and nephews are 10, 8, 4, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have kids, but you probably have nieces and nephews. I mean, so we all can relate to this. Like people, what was it I saw recently on Facebook Live? It was horrifying. Some boys were beating up a special needs a little boy, another special needs boy. These were like adolescents. They were maybe teenagers. Am I right? Like they were.
Yeah.
They were on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
They filmed themselves. I think they were beating up a special needs boy. I don't know if the boy was autistic. There was something. He was special needs of some way, but he was defenseless against however many other boys.
Yeah.
I've seen girls attack other girls and film it on Facebook Live. Like this is I don't mind using Facebook Live for this stuff.
Right.
But
Yeah, there's not this separation between those kids' reality, their real world, and what they record and put out to the world. It's horrendous.
and you say that the types of bullying are physical.
Hitting,
Yeah.
tripping, pinching, whatever it is. Yeah.
Physically attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beating, shoving.
And the physical attacks are getting worse.
Yep.
It's getting ratcheted up.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional and psychological, which I think is almost worse than physical.
It's terrible.
I mean-
making people cry, making fun of their face, the way they speak, the way they express themselves. If they have a disability, if they struggle with stuttering, or if they have an accent, it's something that's grabbed and used as a weapon against that person.
Or right, I've seen this with obese children.
Yes. Yeah.
Children with burns, children with scars, children, you know.
The other becomes the victim.
Yeah. Cyber, which is horrifying.
Cyberbullying, this is really the area to watch. This, because it's anonymous, you can say and do things electronically that you can get away with. But I mean, some of these cases are now coming to light. But remember, social media is the currency for teenagers. It is the way they relate to each other.
Well, it's even younger, adolescence through college.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
So
yeah.
adolescence in the United States is considered
Like
you know,
11.
11 up to 19, 20,
Yeah.
whatever. But it is the way to communicate and relate. And there's a lot of hidden behavior online and on phones and in chat rooms.
And even texting and stuff like that.
This is the thing to watch.
The thing is our laws have not legislation, and I learned this from one of my lawyers with whom I do like trademarks and stuff, because this came up because a lot of stuff is legislation is not caught up yet to what's happening online, even in the trademark, that kind of field. Legislation as regards criminal behaviors has not caught up to include cyber incidents.
Yeah.
By cyber, it would mean anything online, and even electronic, meaning texting and this and that and the other.
But it has to. I mean, it's going to, because the more kids film themselves abusing other kids and then posting it, I mean, the evidence is there. So these laws are going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think once they start criminally prosecuting these little monsters, ain't nothing stop behavior like a criminal prosecution and getting.
Listen, cameras are everywhere. I don't know if, I mean, let's talk about an adult situation. I don't know if adults now acting out badly are recorded by other adults. People lose jobs over acting out badly. I mean, it becomes, if you act out, it's a terrible thing to do, but probably if you cause a scene, someone's going to pull out their camera.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So in a way, the digital, the electronic devices are both friend and foe.
Yeah, and good. I hope people are prosecuted accordingly. See, this is what I'm trying to understand, because so my 10-year-old nephew, and we're going to talk more than just about children, because you obviously wanted to talk more than just about children, because this happens in workplaces.
Yeah.
But as regards children, so I look at my little, thank God right now, my 10-year-old nephew, my 8-year-old nephew, there's no bullying in their lives right now. And my little 3-year-old niece and 4-year-old niece, they're just so cute. They go and they color and they make macaroni necklaces. That's when does it start? Like when does when do the precious little 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds who don't even see differences and they don't see color and disability and fat and skinny, they don't see those things. When do they start? Where do they learn to bully and when does it start? I want to know, when does it start and why does it start? Because my little nieces are so sweet, it doesn't matter what you look like. They don't notice that. Little children just pick up on your essence. Do you know?
They do. I think it starts when kids move into group situations. It really starts when kids move into
So what, like first grade?
first grade. I've had patients who've had children who they are concerned that their child is being bullied at age 6.
Okay, that's first grade, right,
Yeah.
Chad? That's first grade. That's first grade.
And it just starts out as, again, the teasing or the pushing. And again, they start to feel concerned because their child then comes home and feels upset because it's not just one time. If it continues, now we move into bullying.
So literally the first grade, you've had clients?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah.
because whether that child is sensitive or creative or expressive. So you said, so why does it happen? Kids bully because there's something psychologically and emotionally that is being acted out. There's an aggression that they are witnessing or experiencing, and that behavior is part of their everyday life. And then they act out their own aggression and hurt and fear on their chosen victim.
So in other words, because I've never been bullied and I've also never bullied, I always felt so sorry for kids that were bullied. I would think, why are you guys being so damn mean? Like, why do you have to be so mean? It doesn't make, I mean, to me, like if there's somebody who's disabled, help the disabled kid. Don't, what are you doing? Like, that's so sick.
Right.
That's sick. It's just, it's nasty. But what makes so in other words, children who bully either have been bullied. What are you saying?
Yes, who either have experienced their own kind of bullying at home or are under tremendous amount of emotional stress and need to find a way to act it out. So the brain works in 2 ways. People handle stress in 2 ways. They either numb, they shut down the feelings, they numb themselves out.
Yes.
Or they are assertive and they take action.
They aggress.
So that's why you'll see kids who will cut themselves or hurt themselves. That's the internal numbing out, turning it inward. And the other ones who attack physically or use cyberbullying are aggressing outward.
Wow. Okay, so the bullies, the people who are doing the bullying, are in pain themselves.
And that's the key piece. You know, I'm of the school of bullying should not be tolerated, but you have to address that piece as well. You can't simply say to a bully, hey, stop picking on so-and-so. I'm going to put you in detention, because now you're compounding the situation. There should be consequences.
Right.
But what's driving the bullying? Usually that child is experiencing emotional distress or bullying of their own.
Also, would you not agree? Would you not agree that there's a tremendous lack of empathy? I mean, in other words, the reason I never wanted to bully anybody was because I had empathy. It's like you don't kick somebody who's down. Right. You don't pick on. Usually the person who's being bullied is defenseless. They're defenseless in a way.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
But again, that self-awareness, not so active developmentally when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even in adolescence.
What about 17, 18?
Yeah, but there's still a lot of brain development going on. It's not that people lack empathy, but the maturity that happens later on in life when we settle down into our lives, it's still pretty, what's the word I want to use? Out there when you're an adolescent.
Well, when do people develop empathy? I don't know.
No, I think it happens very early on,
especially if it's taught.
Of course, taught. You know, I don't know about you, but I have a dog, and I walk my dog all over the city, and I have kids approach me in different ways. Some kids are so sweet. Some want to push the dog. Of course, they can't. Some shy away. So the ones that shy away, they're just afraid. It's a big dog. But the ones that want to hit my dog, that's really interesting. Why would you want to do that? because
Yeah.
either it's being said that it's okay, or they have they want to push some animal that they want to work out their aggression. But empathy, you can recognize it early on. If it's cultivated, if that
Yeah.
child is nurtured. Again, it's the emotional stress of the environment, emotional pain of the environment that causes kids to act out.
Okay. Because kids are born very sweet, you
Very
know. I
sweet.
mean, like I said, I can't picture like my little 4 and 3-year-old nieces.
Hmm.
They're not. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what you're. They don't care. They just want
Right.
to have fun and put
That's right.
macaroni on a paper. Yeah, they just want to make their little Play-Doh and do. You know, they just.
And very sweet, but also kids are like sponges. So they
Mhm.
start to pick up the
Okay.
attitudes and the prejudice and the bigotry of the people, the adults around them.
Got it. I got. So again, you've seen it as young as 6. That's
Yes.
okay. Because that's very disturbing to me. Okay, so teenagers. Now, this is a really. I feel so sorry for teenagers right now.
Hmm.
I would hate to be a teenager right now. My life was so. I'm trying to think. So I was in high school between 79 and 83. I guess I was in high school. Yeah, I was 14 in ninth grade.
It's very different now.
I mean, it was such an easy life when I look back on it. You
Very
know, it
different
was
now.
just.
Kids now
I
are
just.
bombarded constantly with images, with violence, with extreme pictures of who they should be and how they should act and what they should look like, how
Mhm,
they should post, what their Instagram accounts should like, what they should
mhm,
look like, when they're texting and sending pictures, the pressure to be out there and to
mhm.
look a certain way and act a certain way is like no other generation has experienced. I mean, I'm speaking in a very strong way, but that is my experience.
Oh, I would. I wouldn't want to be. I feel sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry for my nieces and nephews. Unless, I mean, I guess it's also dependent on the parent. My 10-year-old nephew does not have a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when. I don't. I wouldn't. I'm not a parent. When do you start? When do you give that to a kid? I don't know. I don't know how to do any.
Right.
But I feel bad for teenagers. And what are some of the reasons that teenagers? You say poor peer relationships is a reason that
Right.
maybe a kid
If why a kid would get bullied,
bullied.
yeah, will bully. You mean
No,
actually,
would be bullied.
yeah, not having
Would
a
be a
strong
victim.
peer support system. I mean, kids are pushed and pushed and pushed to be on the go now. And we live in New York City, so you know what it's like walking around this city. I mean, again, the bombardment of images, but kids now have access to stuff online, and there's a lot of isolation going on,
And
right?
so, and like you said, if they have poor peer relationships, they don't really have a
They don't
group
have a group
to belong
because you
to.
don't need to have a group if you have online friends, or you can hide out and you can play games for hours and hours and hours.
Mhm.
We don't want to blame the kids for that behavior, but they're in front of computers, and they get their need for social interaction satisfied through online,
Mhm.
but developmentally it doesn't do anything for them.
And also at school, I mean, you and I remember from, and Chad can probably relate to, from school. You know, I don't, I wouldn't describe myself as one of the popular kids by any means. I mean, I was okay, but I wasn't in the popular group because I was kind of a goody two shoes. I didn't smoke. I didn't do
Hmm.
any of the, I didn't do anything. So I was just kind of like a goody two shoes. But I still had my own little group of
It's your group,
goody two shoes. You know what I
right?
mean? Um,
There were groups.
yeah.
There were groups, and again, I mean, not that
Mm,
bullying didn't exist, but I think because of this ability to hide out online, to
mm,
isolate, you
mm-hmm,
don't. You're. I mean, we see this as an adult. People don't know how to talk and connect because they're looking at their phone. And
mm-hmm.
again, I don't want to sound like back in the day when I was young, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I really see this because I coach people in
Mm.
communication skills, and people have a very hard time communicating
And you teach
interpersonally.
you coach grown-ups.
I coach grown-ups,
Yeah.
and they have a hard time.
Yeah. Okay, so poor peer relationships. You say low self-esteem.
Mm.
Being a teenager is so hard. I
It's
mean,
so
I
hard. You're
had
going through everything at
I
that
mean
time.
everything's growing in the wrong rates.
Right.
I didn't I mean teenagers whatever. Whatever.
But again,
It's
and
hard.
not that we didn't have models or stars or
Mm,
actors when I was growing up, but there's something very over the top about the celebrity image and how you're supposed to be that I think puts so much pressure on teenagers and boys and girls
yeah.
that their self-esteem is crushed.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's not enough. I always make sure to tell my little girls, my little girls who are beautiful little children, they're 4 and 3. I always tell them, I always say, I love you and you're a very smart girl. Like I try to de-emphasize. I mean, they are gorgeous. They happen to be gorgeous children. But I always tell them how smart they are,
Yeah.
and how, because I want them to be more concerned with their brain than their butt, and I mean, I want children who, I want these girls to grow up and do something with their lives more so than take a selfie and put, do you know what I mean? Like, I just tell them how smart they are and that they're good and kind little girls, and,
That's
tell- tell-
great. That's great
yeah,
nurturing. That's great
Yeah.
modeling.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
modeling good behavior to them. Again, they're absorbing it. They say, "Oh,
I'm
Aunt
a smart
Tara's look at her. She's living her life. She's not posing and doing selfies of herself on."
Yeah,
That's-
I don't
yeah.
understand that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you say teenagers who are bullied perceived as different, gender identity, appearance, big ears, a big nose, a big butt, fat, or even beliefs, religious beliefs,
Religious
or
beliefs, right? Have
Yeah.
political beliefs, whatever it is, you can be bullied. I mean, you can imagine, kids who move from a liberal town to a conservative town, or a conservative town to a liberal town. I mean, that kind of other feeling, kids will go after that. They
Yeah.
they tend to bully people who appear different to them, especially in adolescence, because that's all about, as you said earlier,
fitting in.
being part of the group, being part of a peer group is what adolescents
Yeah,
want.
I never fit in. I'm telling you, kid, like I never fit in because when everybody else was smoking and drinking, I just thought that seemed so stupid.
Right.
It didn't make sense to me. Like, why am I going to, what do you get out of that? I didn't understand. I was like, what is this going to do for my future? I just didn't understand.
Right, but you didn't bully anybody because they were smoking or drinking.
No,
or
they would
doing-
have bullied me for
Right.
not doing it.
and it just
you know,
wasn't. But there was something that you had within. You did not come across as a victim or vulnerable, even if you
No,
were
yeah,
different.
yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, yeah. I also added lack of family support and connection. To me, okay, so here's the deal. I would think, now I can't say this across the board because you've told me that you have clients who say to you, I'm afraid my child who's 6 years old, I think my child, so I'm not saying that children who are getting bullied don't have great families. I'm not saying that. But I think in some cases, in a good many cases, the children don't have family support in connection with family because to me, if regardless of what's happening at school, if everything is cool at home, like you're part of a community at home, which is this is where everything begins.
Right.
It's easier to talk about it, to get help, to admit. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? To feel like I fit in at home.
Right.
Am I making sense?
It is.
Yeah.
And there could be, and that's absolutely true, but there could even be a loving home that experiences a divorce
Right.
or death. And then that child goes through something of vulnerability that can be picked up by other kids,
God, you're making me think of this.
right?
People are like dogs. You know how dogs can tell when you're scared? Like I always watch Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer,
Yeah.
and he always says dogs are smart enough. They can pick up your energy. Like when you're calm and you're not scared of them, the dogs calm down. When you're scared, they view you as prey.
Right.
When you're, that kind of thing. And just take that to criminals. In New York, I believe criminals can sniff out when you're scared and you're a victim type. I think bullies do the same thing. I think that they can tell when the kid is vulnerable,
Yeah.
and that's who they go for. And the kid, like you said, good home, but maybe there's a divorce or death of a dad or something. There's a
Yes.
hole in there's
Something
a hole.
happens. So
Yeah.
either it's a chaotic, emotional, stressed home for alcoholism or substance abuse or a lack of a mother or father, or it's a home that was intact and then all of a sudden there's a change
Yeah,
and that child becomes vulnerable
yeah,
and they get opened up and they shut down, or they pull inward, maybe they stop eating, whatever it is. Yes, others pick up on that.
yeah. Why can we pick up on fear in other people? Why are we?
I think it's very primal. I think it's
Yeah.
extreme. I think it's one of our primal senses. I think that's how we survived. If we
Yeah.
can pick up fear and we can anticipate,
I
that's
can
how we
even we
survive.
can pick up confidence in someone. You can I can I can sit in silence in a room with I can sit in a room of silence, total silence, and I can say she's not confident with the way she looks, and I can tell by the way she's, I can
Exactly.
say she's kind of a bitch. I could tell by the way she, like I can sit in a room where nothing is said, and I can tell you who has good self-esteem, who doesn't, who's strong in the office. I can pick out CEOs. I can just pick them out by the.
Because we wear our
And
emotional
it's nothing,
life on our sleeves,
right?
on our
Right, it has
bodies.
nothing to do with clothing.
Right.
It has to do with posture, energy.
And so just
Yeah.
imagine, as you said, adolescence when all your body parts are
Yeah.
sticking out in weird ways and you want to hide. So you start to pull in. You don't like the way you're developing, or perhaps you're, a skinny guy and everyone else is big around you.
Right.
Those are things that start to stand out. And unfortunately, that's what bullies pick up on.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm so sorry. And again, you said that it starts young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to adults. We'll come back to we'll come back to children, obviously. I want to move on to adults because I was shocked. I mean, you sent me statistics. I was like, wait, what? This also has never happened to me in a workplace. Yeah, it's never happened to me. Has workplace bullying. This is the Workplace Bullying Institute of 2017. This survey was done in 2017. 19% of Americans are bullied, and another 20% witness it, which is sad. If you're witnessing it, you're part of the problem. 61% of Americans are aware of abusive conduct in the workplace. So apparently it's happening a lot. 60 million Americans are affected by it. 70% of perpetrators, so about 3/4 are men perpetrating. 60% of targets are women. So as grown-ups, it tends to be more male aggressing toward females.
Yes. Yes. I mean, women have their own style of
Yeah, see, I've
bullying.
seen women.
Be bullying. It's a mean girl energy. It's cutting people out. It's not including people. Whereas men, it can be much more aggressive. It can be boundary crossing. It can be teasing, sexual harassment. Yeah, it happens. It happens. It can be making fun of somebody at a meeting, making a joke at their expense. And if this is your boss, what can you do? You have to laugh along. You have to go along with it. It's, you and I have talked about this before, but groups, and this happens in work setting, groups tend to, when you get into a group, you tend to go into family dynamics, roles in your family. It happens in the workplace as well. There's the joker, there's the mediator, there's the bully as well, who pushes people around and then says something like, oh, can't you take a joke? Oh, come on. So you end up, if you don't have the confidence, going, yeah, I guess I won't make any waves. And the less you make waves, the more you can be picked on or pushed aside. It can affect your career.
And 60% of perpetrators are men. Would that include like sexual harassment?
Yes, it would be. And again, sexual harassment can be subtle. You can brush up against someone at the office. You can, lean into them. You can make an inappropriate joke and then, oh, it's a joke. What am I? But if it's on a consistent basis toward one person who starts to feel that they are being bullied, this is a problem. And you should not be stepping on people's boundaries. If someone says stop, or if someone says that's not funny, that's not funny.
Well, and also, isn't it generally the subordinate bullying the it's usually the subordinate bullying the insubordinate, or insubordinate. Like it's always either this to this or
exactly. It's very rare that an insubordinate will bully a subordinate. It's just because of the power, the hierarchy, the way things are set up.
Why do adults bully each other, though? Why are we doing this crap? I mean,
from what I've seen in my experience, it is both some of the carryover from unresolved emotional wounds from the past that don't get resolved, and they get acted out
So
in the group.
the teenager bully becomes a grown-up bully? He just keeps doing it?
Very rarely changes unless that person has therapy or some kind of self-awareness, or is told don't do that and is put in their place, or the company or the organization
Doesn't
says
stand for
that
it.
doesn't stand for it. But if no one steps in and says that's not allowed, the bully's going to continue. And it happens in certain industries more than others, where there's a
What are you talking
looser-
like police? Because
Well, let me sit down. I mean,
I've seen people in the military. I've seen females in the military
Yes,
talk about it.
gets-
I've
yeah.
seen people in the police force talk about it.
Yeah.
Not demonizing any particular group, but I've seen women in the military talk about some of the
Yeah,
stuff.
sometimes on the trading floor, women have talked about being bullied. It's really interesting because I think it's a discrimination issue, but this whole thing has come out of Silicon Valley, where women in tech are saying, you're not taking us seriously. There's been sexual harassment, there has been marginalizing, and so women are speaking up, and there's been this big ripple going through the tech world about
I did not know
Yeah.
that, because you've got Sheryl Sandberg, who's the
this
the CEO,
No,
the CEO of Facebook, right? Am I wrong? Am I right? She's the
She's not a CEO of Facebook. She was at Yahoo, and now she's somewhere else. But
wait,
this-
isn't Sheryl
no,
Sandberg?
it's Mark Zuckerberg.
Wait, no, Mark Zuckerberg. Hey,
He's Facebook.
come on, Chad. Am I wrong? I thought Sheryl Sandberg.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg is at Facebook too, but Sheryl Sandberg I thought was the CEO. No,
She was a big macher at Facebook for a while,
And then she left.
and then she left. She wrote Lean In.
right.
She
Her
wrote Lean In,
husband-
yeah.
And her husband was from SurveyMonkey, had a heart attack on
And died, yeah.
I worked with him back in the day. That's why I remember. her.
But Cheryl was because Carol's saying how in the tech industry there's
Yeah.
bullying men to women.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, oh yeah,
Yeah.
really like.
It's just come out
notoriously bad.
even, it's
Well,
huge
you know-
stories have just broken recently.
You know what I think that might be? That might be not. I love men. I'm not picking on any of you, but men like, again, military, cops, like the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Men kind of feel like, what are girls doing here? You know what I
well,
mean? Like,
there definitely can be that, but there is internalized bullying that then gets recreated. So, for example, the nursing industry.
don't tell me there's bullying.
Totally. There's this whole, it's called a very particular term where nurses bully other nurses. Within the medical community, where, interns are worked, and yet they are treated not well for all the time they put in. So if you were treated badly and you learn that this is the system, then when it's your turn,
Oh, then when you become the senior,
that's right.
oh, it's almost like in a sorority.
That's
yeah,
right.
like
or
yeah.
internalized, violence. People who are who had violence growing up tend to not everybody, but tend to perpetrate violence on others if you haven't resolved it or haven't gotten help for it.
I didn't know it happened. Obviously I don't know what jobs I've had. I've never. Have you ever had workplace bullying? You know what it is? I think I've primarily kind of worked for myself. I've worked at, what have I
I've
done?
had sexual harassment. When I worked in the restaurant industry, when I first came to New York, a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of inappropriate comments by owners of restaurants to myself and the other waitresses on the floor.
And that's bullying.
That is
correct?
bullying.
Okay, so
That is
sexual
bullying.
harassment is bullying.
That's
period.
right. And so at whatever I was, 18, 19 years old, needing a job, not knowing, and there wasn't a lot of talk about it, you basically took it.
Can I tell you something? This is, one of the reasons I think maybe I've never been bullied. Chad's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Chad, are you listening?
Of course I'm listening.
Okay, no, because so seriously, like here at the studio, it's like the nicest people you'll ever meet, like Chad and Keith and all the people that I come in contact when I come here. They're like the nicest people, but I have the luxury of, just because the way I've set up my life, if Chad ever did bully me, Chad, you never would. I'm saying if.
Yeah,
Okay.
if.
I have the luxury, if Chad or anybody else here ever got nasty with me, I have the luxury of flipping him the middle finger and saying, "Screw you, I'm out of here." Like I'm done. I'm not like. And I would also mention it to my brothers and my dad, and we would very promptly get lawyers on it. And Do you know? I mean, like I'm just saying. I have the family support. You know.
You have the family support, you have the luxury of being your own business,
Yeah.
and times have changed. Times have changed.
But you're saying that like in the nursing industry, it's still like, in other
Yeah,
words, a
there's
lot of
still
these, see, people need jobs. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I were working in a hospital and I were a brand new nurse out of nursing school, I don't know that I would be so, because I need the job.
That's right. That's the thing.
But see,
It's the needing, it's the vulnerability about needing the job and the employment.
Mm.
That's why people stay in situations that are not so tolerable. People go, "Why don't you leave? Why don't you
Where am I
leave
going to
the
go?
job?
Yeah.
Where am I going to go?
Because
I got two
because I'm a single
kids.
mother and I've got a
That's right.
3-year-old and yeah.
I've got to do this. I've got. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of movies of the women who stood up in. I want to say it was the mining industry. A lot of films coming out where if you're a whistleblower,
Mhm.
you're not celebrated.
Oh
You're
yeah,
not
yeah,
celebrated.
I have a girl. Actually, this is interesting. I have a girlfriend. One of my girlfriends from the gym is an ER nurse, and she always worked. She worked the 7P to 7A shift. So she worked the overnight shift, and she worked in an emergency room. So she was an emergency room nurse, and she saw some stuff that was happening, and she was a whistleblower. And it ended up she's now no longer. She took a hit. She lost her job because of it. She just couldn't take it anymore,
Right.
and she blew the whistle. And like you said, whistleblowers are frowned upon in organizations like that. You're not always,
Yes.
you're not always celebrated with Julia Roberts making a movie about you, like Aaron Brockovich. Okay,
That's
okay,
right.
yeah. So I get it, and I feel bad because, like I said, my life is set up in such a way that if you bully me, I just flip you the middle finger and you never see me
Mhm.
again, and we'll slap you with a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I do life. But
Yeah.
everybody can't do that.
Everybody can't do that. That's
Yeah.
why there are pro bono law organizations. A lot of law firms do pro bono work. There's the Bar Association here in New York has a pro bono clinic. There are places that you can turn to.
Really?
Yeah, there's legal aid. There's the Bar Association has pro bono legal hours where attorneys donate time. So there are resources, certainly a lot in New York City, but again throughout the country where you can start to get some help. But that means taking off time and building up the courage to stand up
and
to some-
fight.
and fight.
Yeah.
But we need to fight for ourselves and for other people.
And you're making me think. I'm wondering, like, if in unionized organizations there, but now the nurses have a union, don't they? Because you think,
This is again
just-
it's this internalized, I went through it, so I'm going to perpetuate it on you.
now what I want to talk about is I want to stay with adults, even young adults, or even teen whatever. I want to talk about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two distinct kind of relationships I want to talk about: romantic
Mm-hmm.
and within families, like parent-child or sibling to sibling, et cetera, et cetera. Let's start with romantic.
Yeah.
Where's my stat? Okay, so 70% of the perpetrators are men, but you know what? I don't want to demonize men because I've seen women be very verbally abusive to maybe women don't smack around,
That's
but
true, but
I've
it's not
seen-
equal.
I've
It's there. It's not equal. There really is more of a predominance of men beating or harassing women. So
psychologically, yeah.
psychologically, so it's not 50-50. There's
Mhm.
still predominantly men are doing it more than women. So we want to make that distinction.
But I've seen women
Yes, there are
be very
times-
mean to their very
Yes.
good husbands, and I'm thinking, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? I mean, like, he's a nice guy. So in romantic relationships, this is off. Well, again, I shouldn't say that. This is often where I find myself saying, "Why do you stay?" But again, I understand some people that, well, because I need a roof over my head, and I've got, But what does bullying look like in a romantic relationship?
So it has some of the
It can
same
look very
same controlling. Where are you going? What are you doing? You have to report to me. Isolating your mate.
mhm,
Can't go out. Can't see your friends. The same things. Teasing,
mhm.
questioning, physically being not necessarily
Intimidating. Yeah.
Standing up in a room when your spouse says, I'm going to go out, and standing up and using your physicality
Mhm.
to intimidate another person, mocking emotion. Your husband or wife, but let's just say your partner gets emotional, then you start to mock them for being emotional. You're a crybaby. Why are you crying? Those tears are ridiculous. Could go the other way. Why aren't you a man? Why are you crying?
Yeah.
So that kind of mocking and making fun of someone who's broken down emotionally in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of thing. But it is all of those behaviors that aren't always just physical. Sarcasm, the cold shoulder. I'm going to ice you out is a way of bullying another person. I'll decide when I'll let you back into my good graces.
So let's go back to the definition of bullying. This isn't a good time to revisit. The definition of bullying would be overpowering either physically or psychologically someone who is in that situation defenseless. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Overpowering either physically or psychologically someone who is defenseless, relatively speaking, defenseless in the
That's
situation.
right, for the purpose of intimidating them or controlling them.
Or hurting them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in romantic, all right. So because I do want to talk solutions eventually, but within families, again, parent child.
That's right.
I've seen child parent. I mean, if you watch Oprah back in the day when Oprah was on network television, remember at 4:00 in the afternoon.
That's right.
If you watch Oprah long enough, like I've seen parent child bullying, I've seen child parent bullying, I've seen siblings being bullied where the parents don't do anything, and
So psychologically, the family unit, dysfunctionally or healthy, wants to stay stable.
Okay.
Right? Homeostasis, wants to stay stable. So if there's dysfunction, everybody starts to take on a role to keep the family intact. That's why you have family system roles. The hero, the rebel, the bully, the victim. You will find these roles within a family.
And you know what's interesting? Isn't this true? If one role is taken, someone will just find another role.
That's right.
And this is what's interesting. This is I find birth order so interesting. This has nothing to do with bullying, but like this is for example of taking on a role. Like in my family, my older brother is the really smart one. Like he's the really smart one. I'm the athletic one. I was always the athletic one.
Right.
Oh, there's Tara. She's the athletic one. Then the baby was the sweet one. My little brother, he was the sweet one, the good one. He was always good. Yeah, and he was smart too, but he was just a good kid. I was kind of the black sheep who was kind of, so it was the smart one, the black sheep who was athletic.
Yeah.
You
and I talked about this. Oh, I have a little bit of a sneeze here.
Yeah.
Hold
Oh.
you and I talked about this. So you get the message.
And so what's interesting is I wonder if I hadn't been the middle child, maybe I would have been the smart one.
Right.
But that slot was taken.
That slot
and
was
it was
taken.
taken by someone I couldn't compete with that. So I figure, what the heck? I'll just be athletic.
And you believe what you're told. You and I talked about this, I think, on the very first podcast we did here.
I was told I was not good at
not good at math, right?
I was always taught that I was not good at math, and I was always taught that I was great with words and English.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. I grew up and to be not good at math and great with words and English. It was so interesting. I don't know if it's because my mother predicted it or because I fulfilled the potential to which, I did what I was told. I don't know, but.
So you take that in. So with the bullying, so if you are told by your parent, you're a
loser, you're worthless.
You carry that energy out into the world.
Yeah, and then you go into school and the kids know that you believe that you're worthless.
They pick it up because of either. It's funny because a kid with low self-esteem can either be the aggressor or the person who retreats. So they pick up on something. The one who retreats and tries to keep themselves, under the radar is what people will pick. A bully will find a victim. A bully will always find a victim. Just like in relationships, caregivers find takers. Right? In romantic relations, if I give, I always give, and he or she keeps taking. Well, perfect match. Caretakers will always find someone who needs caretaking.
Wow. That is so interesting. And so within, like I said, siblings where the parents don't do anything about it and there's bullying amongst siblings, children bullying their parents.
I've had patients in my practice who had horrible bullying from siblings that was ignored or brushed aside.
Yeah.
And it was...
it's just teasing.
It's teasing. It's damaging.
Just your brother.
That's right.
It's just your brother. Your brother loves you. He's just kidding.
That's right. Horrible. And yes, then if a kid is being an aggressor for an adult, which is rare, though it does happen. It's happening.
Oh, I've
more
seen
and
it
more.
happen.
Yeah, happening more and more. That is an expression of something off in the family. Now, it shouldn't be condone, or, oh, poor Amanda, she's attacking her mom. What a victim. We have to, she gets to do whatever she wants. No, there has to be consequences, but you have to understand, why is that happening?
Oh, yeah.
Why would a child attack at a parent? Why would
What's the rage? What the
what's
hell?
the
What
rage?
rage is going on here?
What's happening outside? Again, there could be a lot of aggression going outside. The kid takes it at school and then comes home and acts it out.
It's ridiculous. And also, what I hate to see the most is when the parent bullies the poor little kid, the child. I mean, that's you can't bullying also, I should say, to me, bullies, that's the ultimate coward, because you're always picking on somebody who can't pick back. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, usually a bully, they're not going to pick on somebody that could turn around and kick their ass. They're
Yes.
picking on somebody who's defenseless.
It's usually, that's when a bully stops, is when someone says, I'm not going to let you do this, and they back up.
You want to know something? This is funny. My mother taught me this. Chad, are you listening to this? Because this is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm here, right here.
Okay, so my mother taught me this. My mother, God rest her soul, was kind of ahead of her time. I was born in 1965. So this is why I'm saying she was kind of ahead of her time, because back in 65, everything was like unicorns and rainbows. I mean, like when I was I remember I was 4.5 years old, and my mother would, my little girlfriend in the neighborhood, we were little 4.5-year-olds. We would walk from our houses. Our parents would let us go. We would walk to school by ourselves every day, because that was the world back then.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're not going to let your child I mean, we had to walk up to school because a van would come and, snatch the so it was a different world. But my mother, I was the only girl. So my mother had 2 boys and a girl. I was in the middle. And my mother, when I was getting to the age where I wasn't going to be under her nose every minute, 4 or 5 years old, where I was going to be sent off to school, she said to me, Natara, listen, I want to tell you something. She said, I don't ever want you to start any fights or any problems. That's not good. You don't start fights. She said, I don't know what you're going to think about this because you're a psychotherapist, but it's the truth. She always said, but listen, sometimes people may start things with you, right? And she said, if somebody starts something with you, you do need to finish it. And she told me, Chad, I'm not kidding. My mother.
I don't think I guarantee you're telling the truth.
God rest her soul. My mother told me. She said, for instance, Tara, let's say, because I remember one day I had to take a little plant we planted things in like a little Dixie cup, and I had to take my plant to kindergarten. And my mother had always told me, like, if somebody hits you, I hope you don't think this is bad, but my mother always said, Tara, if someone hits you, you never hit anybody. But if somebody hits you, you need to hit him back. And you need to hit him twice as hard as he hit you, so it's understood that you're not to be hit.
Wow.
My mother told me that. And I think what her thought is this is a little girl, and she's about to not be under my nose all the time. Because when I was with my mother, if somebody hits me, my mother will club you my mother will rip your leg off and club you to death with it. That was, we're Sicilian. Do you understand? But my mother thought, okay, this little child who's, 3 feet tall, I'm about to let her go out.
Right.
She's not going to be with me all the time. So I was always taught, never start a problem. Never start anything with anybody. But if someone starts something with you, you always finish it. And you finish with a good finish. So it's the only time it happens. That's what I was taught. Is that horrifying?
It's not horrifying.
I was never bullied.
It's not horrifying.
I was never bullied.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like there's two schools of thought.
Yeah.
One is the walk away, meaning that's taught actually in self-defense, that in some of the Eastern philosophies, that you always walk away until you are forced to not.
Well, that's what my mother was saying, though.
Exactly.
If someone hits you,
That's right.
then now we have a problem.
Yeah.
And now you've got to hit them back. And my mother always said, unfortunately, you've got to hit them back twice as hard so they know next time not to hit you.
Right.
And
the
so that's what I was.
philosophy of immediate reaction or
Yeah.
step away until forced to, and then, of course.
And what's weird is I've never been hit. I've never been picked on. I've lived in New York City 24 years. I've never had an incident. But I would take my keys and gouge out your eyeballs if I had to. And I'd smile while I was doing it because that's what my mother said to do.
That's right.
Yeah. Is that nice, Chad? Or
No, I think it's good advice.
yeah, I mean, my mother said,
So this is
Yeah.
what so you carry
Yeah.
that with you, and you have
Is
a
that bad though? Is
inner
this like I'm not,
confidence.
yeah.
This is what I would say
Yeah.
if a kid hits you and it hurts, to hit them
Mm.
back twice as hard, again, there's a ripple effect, right?
Mhm.
Then they take that out on somebody else. I think to be able to say, hey, verbally say, maybe kids can't, but
Mhm.
it's sort of like being in the laboratory, not out in the field.
Mhm.
I'm against.
Oh,
Right.
I was taught never do
Yeah,
violence.
and
Yeah.
never retaliate with violence, but
Mhm.
we're very primal, and if someone pushes us and we push back or we say no or we say
Yeah.
stop, that sets a boundary.
Yeah, I'm
I
afraid I would. Yeah, I'm afraid I would hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just don't. I don't enjoy being hit or attacked.
No,
So
no,
I
no.
would.
No
Yeah,
one no one does.
yeah.
And
But I was always taught never start anything.
Mhm.
Never.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you got to protect yourself.
Mhm.
It is what it is.
So that's something, like I
Yeah.
said, it's inside of you, and you
Yeah.
won't be picked on. You're not picked on.
Yeah. I even this is also funny. When I first moved to New York City, I remember I took self defense. You know, have you ever taken self?
Mm-mm.
And nobody's ever bothered me, so I don't even get to like try it out. It was like,
Mm.
well, that was a wasted
Like
after.
the keys
Yeah.
and the thing, and yeah.
Yeah. And they even said that one of the reasons that women have trouble defending themselves is because they don't want to hurt other people. I was taught if you're being attacked, green light. Like,
They don't want to hurt another
yeah.
person, and they want to be nice.
I don't.
Hey,
yeah.
can you come help me take this out of the
No.
back of my van? And women will be like, oh,
No.
no,
No.
don't do
I
it.
was not taught to be
do
nice.
not do that.
That's what I'm saying. My mother was ahead of her time. Chad, I'm not kidding. My mother, I was taught, do not, my mother always taught me a couple things. When I was going to school, she also said, Tara, now listen to me. Just because an adult tells you to do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Mhm.
She said, I want you to think for yourself. And if something doesn't sound right, like an adult's telling you to do something, and if it just doesn't feel right or sound right, you say no and you will never get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
She told me that.
That's great.
She told me you do not have to listen to adults because they're adults. She told me the opposite.
Mhm.
And I was a good kid in school, but she always said if something doesn't sound right, you say no, and that's the end of the story.
So look at
Yeah.
so then go back a generation or two before you, because I
Mhm.
remember my dad being in Catholic school
Mhm.
and telling stories about being hit with rulers and slammed with books by the nuns.
Yeah,
And if you went home and complained about it, you got hit
by the
by
parent.
the parent.
Yeah.
So this whole thing about not speaking up and not speaking out
Mhm.
and sucking it up started to get perpetuated. And I think now things are really starting to
Yeah.
change. There's more work, but it's starting to change.
Yeah. So you think my mom? I think my mom was ahead of her time.
Listen, she
saying-
set you up to take care of yourself.
I think that's what she was. She wasn't trying to make me into some little monster, but she understood that I wasn't going to be under her eyes, her watch,
That's right.
all the time, and she just knew it was a different life for little girls than little boys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She was
Yes.
aware of that, and she just wanted me to be able to take care of myself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now let's talk about. Okay, so we've already talked about bullying behaviors, anything that's abusive, demeaning,
Mhm.
in any context.
In any
Okay.
context.
The root of bullying behavior, again, it's the root of it that bothers me because, again, I think that empathy is the antidote to bullying. If I had to pick one thing that would be the antidote to bullying, it would be empathy. Why would you ever, I mean, again, why would you ever pick on someone who is defenseless?
Because-
That's sick.
Because you're picked on and told that your sensitivity and your gentleness, boy or girl, is a bad thing. So if you learn to reject it in yourself, because someone is being harsh to you, you're going to reject it in someone else. Because it's too painful to, I mean, kids can't stand up to their parents and say, hey, stop picking on me. I'm not overly sensitive. I cry because I'm hurt. No, they get really quickly, in order to survive, I have to go with the party line. So they reject it in themselves, and then if they see it in another kid, they're going to reject it in that kid by bullying them.
How, though, but do you agree that empathy is the ultimate antidote to bullying?
Yes, but if your empathy is stamped out or forced underground, it's not available to you.
How can we build empathy in children, I mean, it might be hard to deal with a grown up. It's harder to, how can we build and seed empathy in children? How can we put that in?
I think by
Don't we do it in school now? I
we
thought.
we do it
What?
in school, but I also think, and I'm going to talk specifically about little boys for a moment.
Mhm.
So I've been around little boys, and you're around, your nephews.
My sweet, they're so
right?
precious.
Sweet, emotional,
sweet, yeah.
expressive. Then at a certain age,
Mhm.
they're told to man up, stop crying, be strong. Real men don't cry. And all of that emotional sensitivity is pushed down and locked down.
Yeah.
So that empathy, you can have very gentle men and loving men, but to access their feelings becomes a hard thing because it goes against what they're being told is the
Man up.
social norm. Exactly. Man up, be strong. I mean, and so you see these very expressive,
Sweet little boys. Yeah.
just shut down. They're in there somewhere,
Mhm.
but they want to fit in. They want to please their parents. So
But does that take their empathy away? I
not
understand.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
I mean, to me, empathy, like they always say that, like if you see your child harming a pet or something, if you children who harm animals are statistically are likely to
Mhm.
have much bigger problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't make them. Their empathy may not disappear, but they're not going to go out on a limb if they see their friends teasing another boy who's crying. They might feel empathy.
Oh, so
but
in other
it's
words,
too risky.
they wouldn't be a perpetrator, but they wouldn't step in and go, "Hey guys, come on,
That's
break
right.
it up, come on now."
That's
Yeah.
right. But that is
Okay.
one of the key deterrents to stopping bullying.
Is somebody? Yeah.
I remember when you interviewed John Quinones,
Yes.
and he has that show. What would you do?
Yes.
And what happens is when people step up
Mhm.
to stop bullying behavior, I mean, that's when it stops. His whole show is about,
Oh, yeah.
pushing people to the
Yeah,
extreme.
yeah.
People get emotional.
Yeah, John Quinones. So what we're talking about is John Quinones. I love that guy.
Right. I mean,
I love that guy. Actually, the show is it's they have a summer series and sometimes a winter series, but it's on right now on Friday nights on ABC network television, usually at 9 p.m. on the East Coast. But yeah, so it's What Would You Do?
Yes.
And they always. I'm pleased to say though, people are good. People are really good. 9.5 times out of 10, people step up for the little guy who can't,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I do remember one episode where a woman, they purposely do it to do extremes.
They bait
They
scenes.
bait, they
Yeah.
bait scenes. Where a woman was being harassed at like a walk up, food cart, and a lot of people turned away because it was too
Yeah.
socially risky. So the greatest deterrent is naming it, but again, you have to be willing to put yourself out on a limb, and you have to be taught. So just like your mom taught you to stand up for yourself,
Yeah.
another way is to say to your kid, if you ever see someone being picked on, you have to stand up for them or go to somebody else and tell them.
Well, I think, yes, I believe if witnessing it and doing nothing is almost at the level of being part of it, in my humble opinion.
But
I mean,
again, when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, and you don't have those skills and it's too scary to be not part of the group, you may not step in. I always think that there
Right.
should be a hotline at schools, an anonymous hotlines for kids.
for children.
To text or call and say, Principal so-and-so, I saw Lisa being bullied by so-and-so. It would be remaining anonymous. You wouldn't have to take action right away by the school, but the school
could
would
text.
start to observe.
What do you think we could do? What do you think we could do?
I would
What do you-
really, some kind of 800 number at schools where kids could call in.
You know where you should, okay, because I want to say that you should put that suggestion. There are websites formed mostly like by moms and dads of children who have been bullied and, God forbid, committed suicide. You should put that idea because I really like that.
Isn't that really-
One of my degree before I got my master's degree was in education, so I was on track to be a teacher. And of course, back in my day, kids didn't have, but I like the idea of kids being able to sort of anonymously text. I saw Karol Ward on Friday, standing
Push
outside
so
at such and
yes.
such. I saw Carol name names.
Name names
Because it's
and
coming anonymously.
that's
You
right.
don't know what's coming from
You don't
me.
know it's coming from
Yeah.
me, and then the once it's reported, because sometimes kids can be mean to each other and
I could make it up.
You could make it up. So
Yeah.
then it just alerts the school to say, okay, I'm going to now put all teachers on alert
For
to
Karol
to
Ward.
observe Carol. And if it's a hoax, it's a hoax. But if I see Carol pushing and shoving and doing that. So I would think there would be stages. There's the report, then there's the observation, there's the documentation. Wow, I saw her do this 10 times. 3 times is enough. Now we go to the parents. Now we go to the
See,
school.
I really like that because listen, one of the things I thought about, I don't even think I've told you this, Chad, this is horrifying, and you're going to want to hear this because you have a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my girlfriends, Amy, a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, she says to me, "Oh, tomorrow I have to go to a memorial service." And it was in the middle of the week, and I said, "Oh," and she goes, "It's for a kid." And we didn't have a lot of time to talk, so I said, "Oh my gosh, that's so sad." And nothing else was said. And I guess I just assumed that the poor kid had died from a disease or something. Later, when she and I talked, she told me that she was going to a memorial service for a 12-year-old little girl, 12, who had committed suicide because she had been bullied.
Yeah.
Now, the reason this has haunted me is because, yes, I've seen that in the news. Yes, I've read about it. Yes, I'm aware that that happens. This is the first time one of my friends physically went to a memorial service and saw a casket with a little 12-year-old's body in it who had killed herself because now when it's my friend, you understand what I'm saying? When you're reading about
real.
it, when you read about it in a newspaper, it's horrifying. When your friend is going to the memorial service to see a casket with a little girl body in it because she killed herself, then all of a sudden you're haunted.
That's right.
And since my friend Amy told me this, I have not been able to get the parents of the child out of my head because I can't imagine having a little child, your child kills herself. Do you understand what I'm saying, Chad? You have a 13-year-old. Like, I mean, the guilt.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I mean,
and how do you, and not only that, but say my 13-year-old knew that. How do you even talk to a 13-year-old about what had happened to their friend?
That's what I'm saying. And the other thing that I thought to myself, and this is why I can't get this child's parents out of my head. It would be horrible enough. Let's say this little girl, God forbid, had gotten cancer or something and died. Horrifying. Horrible. But because the little child killed herself under the nose of her mother and father, I cannot imagine the guilt.
Yeah.
Like the parents are going, wait a second, where was I? Where the heck was I? My kid's hanging herself. Where was I? I didn't even know she was that upset. Do you understand the guilt?
Yeah.
Do you understand the guilt, Chad?
Yeah.
Like-
Well, I mean, I've noticed that with my friends when my 13-year-old son's playing with his friends, and I wonder, it kind of turns to bullying amongst themselves. And when do I step in? And I know they love each other,
Yeah.
but the language sounds very bullying. And how do you tell my 13-year-old he's being a bully to other people? That bothers me.
Yeah,
It's tough. It's tough.
It's very, and I just can't imagine. I don't know. The whole thing is just so haunting to me.
Hey, a technique, Chad, I think would be not certainly in the group, but
not in front of them.
Not in front of them, but to say, I noticed when
I noticed this afternoon
when you were saying such and such to so and so, that he looked really upset. Were you aware of that? You don't say he looked really upset and
Stop
you
it.
were doing it.
Yeah.
But to start to raise awareness to say, did you notice that? Did you notice that
It seemed to hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
Peter seemed upset. I just want to point it out. I don't know if you're aware of it. You might want to pay attention next time. Boom, done. First seed is planted.
I like that.
Empathy, seed of empathy.
Seed of empathy and awareness. Raise awareness. You're not wrong. I just want you to start to become aware.
Yeah. Did you notice it seemed
Did
to
you
hurt
notice-
his feelings?
Yes,
yeah,
hurt his feeling. Just I don't know. See next time if you notice that.
Yeah, I'll definitely try that because
Yeah.
I see it happening, and a part of them like kind of they razz each other.
Yeah.
But that can lead to hurt feelings too. So I think it's worth, as a parent, stepping in if you see the action, even if when it's your own child, to step in and say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the thing is again, going back to this poor little girl who killed herself, to me, this is just so this has gotten so. I feel like almost every week in the news, I'm reading about or hearing about a child who's killed him or herself.
Usually through a lot of it's through cyberbullying, but again, there's on-site bullying, and that's where I think there has to be a raised awareness. Like, this is an epidemic now. This is not just an occasional thing. And the whole thing about kids isolating or being by themselves with their electronic devices. One of my oldest friends from high school had, I guess she was an 11-year-old girl, computer in the living room, not up in the bedroom, not in a separate room. All electronic devices are
so
used.
11 is 6th grade.
That's right, in the living room. So anytime she walked by, she could see. And I know there are parental monitors. I don't mind parental monitors on computers until a child reaches a certain age. Your brain is still developing.
Oh, your brain, your frontal lobe doesn't finish till 25.
You have no idea what's.
Yeah.
You think that person reaching out to you is a cute 13-year-old boy, and it's some skeevy guy, and reaching out to you. You don't have the discernment. Parents have to monitor their kids' online activity. It's just the way it is at this stage.
Oh God, yes. Now let's talk some solutions here. All right. So what do you do? Let's start with the person. I want to talk for the bully, for the person being bullied, and for the parents if you're the parents of the child. Because again, I am haunted by what these parents of this little girl, what they're thinking as they go to bed at night. Wait a second. Wait, 6 weeks ago my kid was, what happened? What the hell? Why don't we start there?
Right.
What should parents do if they have an inkling that their child is being, because for a little child to take his or her life, that's beyond bullying. Now we've crossed into torture, psychological torture.
Yeah.
What do you do?
You have to. So one is observation.
Okay.
And the things that you keep an eye on are changes in behavior.
Okay.
Does your kid start to dress differently and is not happy? Meaning, if your kid dresses differently and is happy, that's fine. Is your kid isolating? Is there a lot of time alone? Is there not a lot of social activities or hanging out with friends? Is there a reluctance to go to activities or school? Is the weight dropping or is the weight gaining?
Gaining, yeah.
Right? These are all the behavioral things. And listen, being a parent, I'm not one, but I work with a lot of parents. There's no win for you if you step in, but you have to step in. And again, I notice that you seem to be not eating, or I notice that you don't want to do these things. Can you share with me what's going on? Do you want to share with me? So then let's say a kid says, well, I am. So you do all your observation. And then you do some alerting at school. You have to bring in.
What do you do?
You have to say to a teacher, "I'm concerned about Tara. I'd like you to observe and see if there's anything that you notice. I want no action taken. I want no action taken at this point." Meaning you're just observing. If your child says to you, I don't want to go
to
because
school. I don't want to go to school.
Well,
yeah,
the kids are picking on me. You don't overreact, because usually a kid will say, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. Then it's, how do you want to handle it? How do you, Tara, want to handle it?
How do you, child, want to handle
That's
it?
right. If they're of age, we're talking, so adolescents, not a 6, 7, 8-year-old. No. They can't handle it.
But by 11, 11 is
12.
6th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to say to you, please don't do anything. How do you want to handle it? I just want to let it go. Okay, I'm going to let it go for the next month. But if I see that it still continues, I just want to let you know we're going to do something about it.
I swear to God, if I had to rip my kid out of school and homeschool him, I would do that.
That's right. Right. So again, kids really fear that.
Because pardon me for interrupting, but I've seen parents interviewed where they say, I went to school, I talked to the teacher, I talked to the principal, nothing was done.
Yeah.
And now I saw an interview. I saw an interview. It was on a chat show where the child committed suicide. They said, we went to the school, we went to the school district, we went to the principal, we went to the teachers. I mean, once you go to the top of the school district, where are you going to?
Then it's legal action. You threaten legal action. You have to do it.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it. So you have to give your kid a short period of time if they're old enough and want to negotiate a little bit, but it's not an endless period of time. It could be 2 weeks, it could be a week, and then you step in and you start working your way up the ladder. And you say, I want you to observe my kid. My kid's being bullied. I want you to watch it. I want it documented. If not, I'm going to be bringing in legal counsel.
And what if, like, my girlfriend Amy, her her client who had the child who committed suicide, I'm sure they were nice people. What did they miss? Like, in other words, I think often the children don't communicate how miserable they are to the parents.
They don't, but that's why you have to watch behavior. It's very rare that a kid can be sunny and happy while they're being bullied. Usually there's some behavioral change. Again, outside first, clothing, hair, weight, and then their social interaction. If your kid was a happy, popular kid in 5th grade and then in 6th grade doesn't talk about her best friend and it doesn't want to go to school, something has changed. It's not just she's not in the mood.
Okay. And what if you go, what if you're a parent and, like, these people I saw interviewed, they go to the teacher, they go to the principal, they go to the school board. I mean, like I said, I'd rip my kid out of school and I'd homeschool him if I had to.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to, you know.
No, you get your kid into.
You do what you have to do.
You have to do what you have to do. You get them support. You get them counseling. There are counseling services, again, clinics, low-cost counseling services. You reach out to some of the resources that I sent you where you can go online and find all of these national hotlines,
Yeah, and
anti-bullying resources. Yeah.
Yes. And like I said, it's also very interesting. There are a lot of, if you just go online and, like, Google bullying or anti-bullying, nowadays, like I said, moms and dads get stuff done. They're getting sick of this.
That's right.
And usually it comes out of an unfortunate incident where something bad happens, that they just say, that's it, I'm done. I'm not, and they put, we've got to stamp this out.
And if there's a kid in pain who's listening, an adolescent, you can call these hotlines. No one's going to grab your name. No one's going to report you. It's for you. It's a place for you to talk. These calls are not recorded. It's just a resource for you to have someone start to help you.
All right, so parents, let me see. Oh, I also wanted to ask you about, do you have any advice for the person getting bullied? So now talk to the child, because kids listen to this podcast. I have people tell me that they listen with their children, kids or adolescents or teen or even college kids or young adults. What advice do you have? Because, like I said, everybody wasn't. Again, I would just kind of be like, you know, but everybody doesn't have that.
Right.
So,
you try to, it's tough, but you try to find one adult. It might not even be your parent who you like and trust. Guidance counselor, coach. It could be your acting teacher. It could be your math teacher. It could be someone on campus. It could be a friend. And you just say, I'm being bullied. This is really bad. I need someone to talk to. Most adults these days will respond to that. It's very rare that an adult will say, handle it on your own.
Oh, it's
right?
totally different. Now, back in my day, it was kids will be kids. Let them duke it out.
Right.
But my day was 52 years ago. So that's, yeah.
I mean, this other, you read these stories, the women's gymnastics team recently, right? The young girls talked about being sexually.
By the doctor.
By the doctor. Again, but look at that system. It's highly competitive. It's a very rigid system. The focus is on winning.
You toe the line.
You toe the line. You take it. Oh, we all, so-and-so does. Yeah, the doctor, he does that to all of us. What do you do with that when you're 13? Oh, I guess I have to tolerate it. But try to find one adult who you like, a neighbor, somebody who you trust, and start to talk about it.
I also want to I want you to comment on, what do parents do if their kid is the bully? And I know nice parents. There are nice people who have kids who go off. It's not that you can't blame the parents for everything.
Right.
You know, what do you do if you know that your kid is the perpetrator?
Consequences, right? Note zero tolerance. Why is it happening? These are the consequences, and some kind of supportive counseling.
Because you know what I think is going to happen? I said this at the top of the show. I believe the day this stops, because I don't know if you know this, but one of my uncle, who is now deceased, he was a judge in the state of Florida. And he was a very strict judge. And he was the kind of judge where he was cool when you go in front of him the first time. Second time, not so cool, because he didn't enjoy that. Like he would be cool the first time, like, look, I'm trying to be understand. You show up in his court again, you're done. Nobody sees you again because you're in prison. My point is I believe when we start to take legal action for when the legislation catches up to everything that's happening online now, I believe that this will be either stopped or things will calm down considerably, because it was just last week. I don't know if you saw this on 2020, ABC's 2020, I believe it was. It was just last week that the girl was charged with prison time for she encouraged the suicide of her boyfriend via text. I mean, so that's not online, but that's electronic. Now the laws are starting to catch up. So I don't remember the name of the girl. The story was disturbing. I didn't stop to memorize names. But the girl, when she was 18, she encouraged her boyfriend via text to commit suicide. And he did. Right. And she was charged as being partially culpable. I think it was involuntary manslaughter with which she was charged.
Responsible, yep.
Right. Great. When we start seeing these Facebook Live videos of kids beating up defenseless children, or when criminal behavior is slapped with prison time or at least juvenile detention, things are going to get solved. This can't be tolerated.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's two-pronged. I absolutely believe that. Consequence, consequence, consequence. The other piece is the bigger piece of paying attention to why is this happening? Why are kids allowed to have so much access to information that they are too young to absorb? What there has to be, and I get it's placed on parents and schools, but we take a lot of things for granted these days, and kids need a lot more supervision than you think. They are not little adults. They are still, their brains are still forming. They don't have the ability to judge things accurately. They're emotionally fluctuating all over the place. Just because they look grown up or they're not your baby anymore, they are not mature enough to handle a lot of situations. Yes, a lot of situations.
Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up is, and I put this, I emailed you about this, and I'm sure you have thoughts about a lot of kids who are being bullied or don't fit in. Instead of retreating and hurting themselves, they become the Columbine killers. They become, what are they? Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. Yeah. And Dylan Klebold, this, for some of you, you're very young, but this happened back in 1999, in April of 1999. Dylan Klebold never felt like he fit in at Columbine High School. And I don't know that he was bullied, but he never really felt like he fit in. He was kind of an outcast. And his solution was to plot a plan with his friend, what's his name? Eric Harris. And they just went in and they killed 13 people and injured 20 before they committed suicide.
Right.
So,
so if you feel like an outcast, you feel like an outcast for a reason. It's not an imaginary thing. There's some feeling that you carry internally that is then matched from the outside world. Again, he wasn't athletic. There are certain populations where if you don't fit in, you are going to be miserable, and people will let you know that you don't fit in.
But the thing is like my friend's child just committed suicide. Dylan decided to just go gun up the place.
Yeah, he went the outwardly.
Yeah, and just gunned down, 13 people and injured 20. Yeah. Then he committed suicide. Yeah. So this is a huge issue.
Huge issues.
And what's interesting is I don't know if you saw this, because this was years ago. I saw Dylan Klebold's mother interviewed years later. It was like Columbine Revisited how many years later. And his mother's just the sweetest lady. Just did you ever see?
Tragic. I saw her
I mean,
interviewed a couple times, but
just
yeah.
the nicest lady. And I think Dylan's husband, wife, and mom and dad, they were married. The incident ended up breaking. They're divorced now, but they were like nice. They were really nice people. She didn't see it coming. I mean, she was like the loveliest lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a.
And,
I mean,
and
think
yeah,
about adolescence. It's a lot
yeah.
of time of secrecy, and you don't want your parents to know stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's you are separating from them. It's the time of great separation
Mm-hmm.
from your the individuation in the developmental stage. You're individuating from your parent, and you are not turning to them the way you did when
Yeah.
you were a little
When
kid.
you were a little boy, yeah, little child.
You were turning inward. You were turning to your peers. You're easily influenced. You're carrying a lot of load on your own because this resource that was there for you growing up, you have now chosen, again, it's a natural
normal.
normal to separate from.
Right. I just, I mean, just to me, it's the whole thing is so tragic. I want to give out some resources.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is a podcast, so the good news is, and what I'll also do is when I'll put this in my newsletter. I'll put these physically links and things in the newsletter when I
Yeah.
promote this episode. So the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is in the United States only, correct? Yeah. It provides free and confidential emotional support. This is in the United States. Let me give out this number, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can call it any time of day, completely anonymous, okay? 800 273 8255. 1 800 273 8255. I will put that in my newsletter. If you sign up for my mailing list, you'll be getting it. Another one is, and Karol provided me with these, the International Association for Suicide Prevention. It's IASP.info. IASP.info. If you go to IASP.info, you can browse to find crisis centers all around the world. So wherever you are listening to this podcast, you can go there. It's an international situation. You can browse, find crisis centers anywhere in the world, people that will help you. And also, this is a great one, stopbullying.gov. Stopbullying.gov, G-O-V. It's nationwide in the United States, nationwide resources, and it's listing anti-bullying support. So wherever you are in the country, I would imagine you can get help there. And I'll put that in the newsletter when I do this. I want to thank my guest, Karol Ward. She's a personal friend and someone that I've had on this show so many times I have lost count. You've got to check out her books. They're Worried Sick and Find Your Inner Voice. They're both available on Amazon.com. And her website, she's a little ornery. She doesn't spell her name Carol like most of us do.
Mm-hmm.
She spells it KarolWard.com. 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 Now, you sit here for a minute because I want to give my Tara Marie's tip. It's very short this week. It's very short and to the point, and it relates exactly to what we were talking about. And you may want to chime in. All right, so listen. I want you guys to listen to me. This is obviously a very disturbing topic. And as I said, in my humble opinion, things seem to be getting worse, not better. When I was a kid, it was totally a different life. But I just want to say a couple things here. Number one, if you are a bully, please just stop it. Seriously, please just stop it. Because listen to me, one day when you have some clarity about yourself and what you've done, you're going to be very, very ashamed. You're going to feel
true.
So much shame.
Very true.
And let me tell you something about life. And this is true. There's nothing worse than feeling ashamed of yourself. Because what happens is it gets really hard to look at yourself in the mirror. It gets really hard to live with yourself. And you have to live with yourself for forever. And that's a very long time when you don't like yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't take back what you've done. You can have remorse, you can regret it, you can ask for forgiveness, but you can't ever undo what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, as someone who's worked with clients privately for 33 years, shame will drive you to do all sorts of very self-destructive things, right?
Very true.
Very self-destructive things. and you will end up being very miserable and very alone. And you will die miserable and alone and ashamed of yourself. And that's not a good way to go. All right. Also, I want to say this, and I've learned this. I'm older than you probably, if you're a kid. Karma is a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very real. And all of the pain that you're causing your victims will come back to you. It's either going to come back to you in life, or maybe you'll do something one day really bad, like Karol and I were talking about, and you'll end up in prison. And then karma will come back to you in the form of abuse by other inmates.
Mm.
So
Yep.
it's really, trust me, I've seen a lot. I'm older than you. I've seen a lot. It's not good. Everything will come back around to you. So you'll get your karmic payback from other inmates, and things will circle back around to you in a very, very ugly way. And it will not be enjoyable. And you're going to feel all the pain that you've inflicted on others. So please just keep that in mind, okay? Okay. Now, if you're being bullied, it will get better.
It will get better.
It will get better. If you're a kid and you're getting bullied, first of all, I am very sorry that you're going through that. I hate that you're going through that. I hate that you're suffering. It's not fair. It totally sucks. And it's not your fault. You've done nothing wrong.
Absolutely.
If you've been bullied,
Yeah,
you've done nothing wrong.
that's
Trust
right.
me. It's not fair. It's wrong. And it's definitely not your fault. Please, please reach out to an adult, anybody who can help you. If you don't feel like you can talk to a parent, talk to a friend's parent. It doesn't have to be your
Mm-hmm.
parent. If you can't talk to one of your friend's parents, maybe talk to a neighbor or a relative or a teacher at school or a counselor or the lady in the lunchroom or a principal or somebody at church or the mailman. Any adult nowadays, I feel pretty confident saying
Mm-hmm.
this because again, I don't have kids. If any kid came up to me and said, Tara, I need help, these things are happening, I would figure out a way to get the kid help. And it's not my
Yeah.
kid, okay? I would do something. Some adult in your life will help you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. You know, tell somebody, and if the adult can't help you, the adult will get resources to help you. Somebody will help you. And remember this, and we said this at the top of the show. If you're being targeted by bullies, I strongly suspect it's because you're different. Now, when you're a kid, again, Karol and I acknowledge this, fitting in is very, very important. And if you don't fit in, then you're targeted. When you're a grown up, and I promise you this, I'm not making this up just so it sounds like a good close, a good cheerful close
Mm-hmm.
to the
Mm-hmm.
story. I'm telling you this, this is the truth. When you're an adult, the very things that make you different and make you a target right now will make you special, and it will make you stand out, and it will actually make you successful. Because when you grow up, you'll realize that fitting in is not what you want. You don't want to fit in. You want to be different. You want to stand out from the pack. Being successful in life when you're a grown up is about being different, standing out, and separating, and being the one who's singled out because you're the one then that's special. You're not a worker bee in a situation of, just numbers and social security numbers and stuff. You stand out. When you're a kid, maybe you're called weird. When you're a grown up, maybe you get your own talk show. Am I right,
Mm-hmm.
Karol? Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously, Chad, all of us hosts are
Yes. We all been through it.
we're all weird.
Yeah, we've
Like
all been through it.
seriously, I'm weird. I don't even pretend I'm not. I mean,
A lot of the
Yeah.
great leaders in the world have gone through horrific times.
leaders, entertainers,
And
stuff,
they
yeah.
and they take it and they get support and don't feel shy about therapy or
It is,
counseling
yeah.
and get yourself out into the world.
It is what
it gets better.
It is what it is. Life will get better. Life will get easier, and you will be okay. I promise you that. So if you're really miserable, I'm begging you, please don't do anything to harm yourself. Please get help. You could you can even just Google suicide and resources will pop out, or suicide hotline if you can't remember the numbers that I gave out today. Somebody will reach out to you 24 hours a day, 100% confidential. Please don't harm yourself, because if you do, it's a very temporary it's a permanent solution
Right.
to something that's going to change.
That's
I
right.
promise you that. It's a very, this is in the blip in the time of life. It's a blip on the radar, and you don't want to do something that's going to take away your life when this is going to change and things are going to get
Yeah,
better.
we're waiting for you. We want to see what you're going to do in the
Yeah,
world.
because trust me, when you go to your 30-year reunion or your 20-year reunion, I swear to gosh, the ones who are bullying you now, they're going to be losers. Seriously, I don't mean to be mean, but they don't make much of themselves. I'm just telling you that. Okay. All right. So that's it for my show. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do hope you'll join me next week. Please rate and review Tara Marie Live on iTunes, and be sure to subscribe to Tara Marie Live so you never miss an episode. You can subscribe on taramarie.com. And when you're there, you can also listen to and download episodes on taramarielive.com. All of my past episodes are posted. So if you've missed one, if you go to TARAMARIE.com, taramarie.com, all past episodes of my podcast are posted there. You can also subscribe using your favorite podcast app right on taramarie.com. Also, when you're on taramarie.com, sign up for my mailing list. There's a little purple pop-up that says join Tara Marie's mailing list, because I send out a newsletter with Tara Marie's tips about fitness, nutrition, motivation, getting on the path to health, all the things I talk about on the show. But also each week, if you're on my mailing list, I send out a little email about the latest episode with a direct link to the latest episode. I put links like the links that Karol and I talked about here. So it's a visual way of staying in touch with me. And please connect with me on social media. On Facebook, it's Tara Marie Live. And on Twitter, it's at @TaraMarie_live. I hope that you have a week filled with blessings, good health, and happiness. And just remember, do better today than you did yesterday, and you'll always be moving in the right direction. God bless you, and peace out. Thank you, Karol.
You're welcome.
Okay.